Hi, it's Rhett with Inc.com. I am at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit as we've been all week. And today I've got Daniel Lubetzky. Now, I love the slogan of this company. I have to read it to make sure I get it right. He's from Kind. He started the company Kind. And his slogan is on a mission to make the world a little kinder, one snack at a time. I love that.
Thank you.
Tell me about Kind.
So, another slogan is that we make products with ingredients you can see and pronounce. And our motto is to do the kind thing for your body, for your taste buds, and for your world. So for your body, it's about nutritionally rich ingredients.
Right.
For your taste buds, it shouldn't have to sacrifice taste for health. And for your world is about what you mentioned, about inspiring kindness in everything we do and how we do it.
Right. So, social entrepreneurship. If you read your bio and you read some of the things that you've done, it seems to be all focused on giving back and creating companies that give back. And why?
I don't see it as giving back.
Okay.
I don't think I'm doing anybody any favors. I see it as something gives me meaning and gives me purpose and gives me a feeling that I'm doing something to make a better society for the sake of my children. My father was a Holocaust survivor. He was in a concentration camp.
Right.
And I heard that you worked for USAID, so I think you appreciate also the stuff. Like, for me, it's about preventing what happened to my dad from happening again to other people. And so the common thread in everything I do is building bridges, but I don't build those bridges to get pats on the back or because I think I'm a great soul. I do it because I'm terrified of what's going to happen to the next generations if we don't make sure that people develop empathy and respect towards those different from us.
Do you think that consumers are changing? Do you think that consumers now are going to demand that from their companies that they buy from, that they choose to do business with?
So first and foremost, I think that consumers are always going to demand that the products or services that they get are the best at what they do. So I don't think and do not believe that social enterprises should use their social enterprise as a crutch. Most people that have tried Kind bars have no idea about our social mission.
Right.
And we did that purposefully because we wanted people to enjoy them because they're delicious and they're healthful, and that's the overwhelming reason why people buy our products. That said, hopefully there are some people that become more loyal to the products or help tell the story or care about it, or we attract great team. But more than anything, it just gives us meaning to not just make money, but to do something good. But I do think that as time evolves and standards of living evolve and education evolves and we're elevating our experiences, more and more people are going to ask themselves, when the company that I want to work for or the company that I want to create or the company that I want to buy from, could I start expecting more from them, not just to make money and make a good product, but also to be responsible actors in society. And I do think that the overall arch will be towards expect companies to be more socially responsible. And frankly, it's critical because if we're going to tackle the challenges that we face in society, from global warming, climate change, to nuclear proliferation, to resource scarcity, water droughts, all these different issues, fundamentalism, terrorism, extremism, there's some things you have to do through non-profit means. Not everything can be addressed through the markets, but if you're able to harness the energy of business, of market forces, then you can build scalable and sustainable solutions and have a much bigger and more sustainable impact.
Do you think, there's a global crisis, I think, in terms of, I think I read something recently, there's 75 million young people around the world are unemployed or underemployed. What is the role of government in trying to solve that problem? What's the role of private industry in terms of trying to solve that problem? And is entrepreneurship answer to that problem?
First of all, the entrepreneurship is the answer, right? Entrepreneurship is almost by definition the most effective way to help create value, to create jobs, to create solutions, whether they're business solutions or societal solutions, or solutions that are both societal and business, which is where true social entrepreneurship comes in, where you're thinking with and rather than this way or that way. There's a very important role for government also in creating the rules of the game that are most conducive to that. And so, I come from a country in Mexico where there's a lot of monopolies or where there's nepotism or other challenges like corruption and stuff. And we take for granted in America how level the playing field is, even with all the,
Right.
even with all the disparities and challenges that the United States has. There's countries where you don't have freedom, and we take that for granted. And I do think that it's important for anti-monopoly laws, for antitrust laws, and fair regulations, so people have clarity about how things are, a good rule of law. There's some basic building blocks that we take for granted that are very, very important in order to...
Infrastructure. You think infrastructure...
Infrastructure is extraordinarily important, because if you don't have that minimal infrastructure, so much harder for those businesses to be able to have competitive products or services.
That's another role probably for government.
Yeah.
What, I want to switch gears.
You want to say that because you worked on a big bridge building project that USAID is, yes, infrastructure, but no, you're right.
No, that's
I'm
why
joking.
I left USAID.
I agree.
No, I want to shift gears, and I want to go to you personally, and a little bit about your story. What, as a young person, I'm always fascinated by what drives people. Why do you do what you do every day, and what motivates you? I know you said your father was a survivor of the Holocaust. Is that the one thing that drives you, or what?
It's the overarching.
What shaped your character? And what?
When people ask me why I'm an entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur, where I got that, I struggle with that answer. I don't quite know how I became a business person. From an early age, I already organized little businesses here and there. I was doing magic shows when I was 8. I was organizing contests and doing businesses with my cousins and siblings. And when I was in college, I was running watch kiosks, and I was doing business always. But I don't know where it came from. It was presumably from observing my dad come out of nothing and build a business and just being inspired by him. But I truly can't pinpoint it. But the other aspect of what drives me from a social standpoint is very clear. It was being exposed from an early age to learning what my father went through, and probably being marked by it, and everything, the way I see the world is through that prism. And it's not all pretty. Like, I'm always very worried about my children, about their future, about my future, about these things like climate change and others, as well as terrorism and fundamentalism. They really, really concern me. And I don't take democracy for granted. I don't take the fragility of our beautiful ecosystem for granted. I think we need to work really hard to preserve the values that our forefathers have given us, and to work really, really hard to preserve a, free economy, free speech. Those things are so critical to withstanding potential dictatorships, potential abuses of the system. And for me, it's about survival.
Do you think adversity? I often have a conversation with my business partners about, I think when we went through the globe, we were just starting out during the recession, the Great Recession, and I think that shaped the culture of our company in a lot of ways, with no access to credit.
The Great Recession was in the 30s, so I think you're older than that. But for you, the Great Recession was in 2008.
Right. And for us, it was devastating, and we as a company became stronger and better because of it. Do you think adversity, and I say that's adversity. I'm not. I've traveled around the world, and I know what true adversity really is. But do you think struggle and hard time is good for a business person?
I'm fascinated by those that just seamlessly grew and did something incredible without having to go through that. I personally, my story is one of making a number of mistakes, and looking back, you can romanticize it, but when you're making them, you cry. I mean, I had moments where I was terrified that I had put all my savings into this thing and I couldn't make my ends meet, and I was scared that I couldn't pay for my couple team members' salaries, and it's not easy, but I definitely can trace back those moments to our greatest successes and the lessons from those failures to getting it right. And kind definitely, but if you ever read my book, Do the Kind Thing, it really connects a lot of the mistakes that I made in my first 10 years to the successes and the lessons that we drew from those mistakes. So I'm a huge believer that adversity can actually be a source of great internal strength and external success.
I didn't realize, and I think I'm like you in a lot of ways, I didn't realize until I had a business how much you mature. I remember the things that bothered me really early on. By 10 years in, 5 years in, those were things that didn't bother me anymore. You know, if I had an angry customer, it used to terrify me. The first guy I ever had a contract with, I'd been in business maybe 6 months, 10 months, and he picked up the phone and he started yelling at me, and that absolutely terrified me because he was our biggest customer. 5 years later, that wouldn't have bothered me so much because I knew I could talk to him. So it sounds like
also learning how to handle those situations, and on one side work so that people will treat you with dignity, and on the other side having to swallow a lot of your pride when you're dealing with customers. It's hard, and I really admired my sales team leaders at Kind, because it's not so easy sometimes when a customer is not, I think for the most part in our industry people are very nice and people do behave with a lot of dignity, but sometimes when you get an absolute jerk and you're like, I don't need to take this shit, but sometimes you just need to find a way to deal with that, and it's not easy.
Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
This is Rhett from the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in sunny California.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Nice to meet you, Rhett.
Have a good time tonight.
Thank you so much.
Get a card for you guys.
All set?
Walk back to the table here and get one for
This is
you.
my contact info.
Okay.
These are the things I do. You board, you play like this is the way you work.
That is amazing. That is amazing. That's the best business card I've ever seen.
For another couple hours.
I've got another thing in a little bit, and then I have to get ready for a panel I'm doing tomorrow. So
Oh boy, you've got a long night ahead.
got to do some homework tonight.
Good luck. Yeah, no, run. I'm gonna hang out. No, I'm gonna hang out. Yeah, I'll walk with you. I'm gonna hang out for a bit.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Be in touch. Take care. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
What time's the panel?
12 o'clock. And he's one of the page ambassadors. Ready for tomorrow? I haven't done
I've been collecting nuggets and trying to jot them down as I go. Things come up. Yeah, I don't keep dropping nuggets. Forget about them. But yeah, it seems like a really
That's what I think that'll be fun. I think if we sit down and really sort of go through it, I don't even know what I see is I haven't.
there's no way about it.
No, I think it's phone call. I'll write down 5 or 6.
Wait, we're not done.
We can talk.
It used to be like 5 years before. Was that shitty picture?
Probably make that Yeah, no, it's been great. I've been stacked up all day.
Special activities maybe 100 times per year.
The idea. Most of the paid time. It was good. I knew
Okay.
he and I met David 5 or 6 years ago. It was a family on Shark Tank. South Dutch. We actually stole it from him. And partnered with him before Shark Tank. So we got to know that. I got to know that through that. He pitched it. They were on the show. They were scheduled to be on the show. Damon wanted it. So we negotiated with Damon after the show. And we've done some other things. So he's a good friend. It's fun. I told him today there's a deal product that he wanted us to take. I didn't love it, and it blew up. After that, it blew up. I told him today, I said, you were so right. You were so right.
I did not really have time to. I should have done my stuff ahead of time, but I got running our below the last couple of days because my partner was away. And it's just so I did get the
It's so rare in the States to have people apart from media perspective. Also about China. Just go out going to China. This is my 6th year in the States. Very quick questions. I don't want to make it long. First is,
These guys.
as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Ben, education takes a lot. But what would you guys suggest as a private sector to bring to the young children other than university level? Like what kind of opportunity do you guys think the private sector should provide to not just giving an opportunity, but develop their thinking and develop innovation thinking and science thinking that actually could help big role parents and something like entrepreneur. Part two is I grew up in China and I'm so enterprise, like finance exclusively, and my ultimate goal is bringing it back to China to empower more people there. And as we can see, it's a growth of China has been very fast and it's been very dynamic. There's still places we leave behind China. We still see people having hard times, going through hard days. As John Kerry has told the Secretary of State has said, strong is more about serving lives to even building business more for benefit other than profit. So what would you guys, what's your opinion on giving back to society as a successful business?
Maybe I try to address the first part. I would say the heavily involved is actually specific. Especially
we